Hello, today I would like to go over a graphic organizer that you can utilize with your alternately assessed students when you're working on the ELA Essential Element RL 3.6, which is identifying personal point of view about a text. So I'm going to show you some different ways that you can modify and differentiate this graphic organizer, talking about a student's favorite part of a text and different things that the student likes that the main character did in the text. So I'm going to show you that, but first I'm going to go and show you the story that we chose to read, which is Soulway. And it's a really great story. I found it a read aloud by the author on YouTube, and it's all part of Netflix bookmarks. So you can check out a ton of different books that are read by the authors themselves. I absolutely love it. I'm going to play a small snippet, and you can see what it's about right here.
Hi, I'm Marley Dias. Welcome to Bookmarks, celebrating Black voices. Soulway is a fable about a young girl who is unhappy with how she looks and how she learns to appreciate her beauty. Soulway is going to be read.
So I think this is a fantastic book, and I really like the message of the book. And I think that not only does it tie into ELA, but this is definitely something we can utilize for social emotional learning as well, right? So we can carry this across multiple subjects, and I think it's a really fantastic story. It's really lovely. So I say check it out for sure, and I absolutely love this read aloud. It's fantastic. So after watching Soulway, I want to show you what I did with my students, which is I created a Jamboard. And in this Jamboard, I provided some different options for graphic organizers. So right here, I have my favorite part, and it says draw your favorite part of the story. And what we can do with Jamboard is you can duplicate these slides, right? So if you were to duplicate the slide right here, you can have multiple students give you their answers. They can write their name here. You can have your students go in and identify their names by using different colors, right? So they can go in the highlighter or a marker, and you can identify each of your students if you want to have them use different colors, or they can just write their name on each of the bottom of the slides, because within a Jamboard, your students have the ability to edit, right? So it's like a virtual whiteboard or virtual smartboard. So it's really fantastic. I really love that feature, that the students have the ability to access it from their own devices. So you can have your students go in and they can draw their favorite part of the story. And you'll see here what I did was I had gone in and I actually added some icons to support my students to kind of give them an idea of maybe what they want to choose. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And I utilized making some icons from Boardmaker. And then I saved the Boardmaker page as a PDF, and then I took some screenshots. So once you're doing that, you simply go over here where it says Add Image. You click on that, and I'll show you how easy it is to go in and just add an image. And I'm going to go look for my night and day image that I saved. And it's right here. So let's go in, add the night and day image. You'll see all you have to do is resize it a little bit, right? And then you can provide some Boardmaker icons to provide some visual supports for your students. So say they can't really open it, answer an open-ended question such as what is their favorite part, you might want to pull out some fun parts from the story and see if they can choose one of them, right? So totally up to them. If they're able to do it on their own, fantastic. They don't need any of these, and you can just go right up here and delete that if you don't want it, right? For your students that may not need that support. Or you can go in and add any sort of icons, or if you notice a part of the story that your students were particularly interested in, or they laughed at, or they really liked, or they seemed to be smiling and encouraged about, then you can go in and make an icon that would represent that part of the story, put it in there so that you can support your students visually, even though you have an open-ended question, right? So we can still provide that differentiation and that scaffolded support for each of our students, and you can also take it away, right? So if you have one student that could utilize it and you have another student who doesn't need as many choices, or maybe no choice at all, you can just go in and delete it, right? So here is one option for my favorite part, where all they have to do is draw out their favorite part of the story. Like I said, you can have multiple copies of this page for as many students in your class to participate all in one Jamboard. That's awesome. Then they can turn and share with their partners or share with the class what they drew and why they liked that part of the story, which is really fun and engaging and a real great way to wrap up a story and talk about it. So now I'm going to show you, I also had another option, right? Maybe if you have students who are more capable and they're able to write out their answers in addition to drawing, right? So here I gave them a sentence starter, right? I gave them an option, visual support, where I said, hearing the story of the sisters day and night. So that's one part of the story that maybe would be their favorite part. So I just did a screenshot again of this sentence that I wanted to type out. So then my students can go in, they can draw out their picture, and then maybe they need this as a model, right? So they need to go in and I provide this right here for them, and they're able to either add a text box, right, by clicking on it like that, or if they want to use their pen or their marker and go in and write it out for themselves. So different options for different leveled learners, right? If you have a student who's able to write out or type out their answers, you can provide a visual support by giving them a sentence. Or you can totally take that sentence away, right? If you don't want them to have that, they're able to answer an open-ended question. Great. Like I said, you can just go on in there, delete it, right? Or if you need to provide this for some of your students, fantastic. You can still go in and support those AAC learners. You can still go in and support your earlier learners by providing icons, by providing sentences to help support them, to remember particular parts of the story. Not a problem. They're still giving you their feedback, and it's still a great way to get out their interest and what they liked about a particular story and have that shared enjoyment of a text. So now let's go through. Here's another part. So it said, I liked it when. And it says, finish this sentence, I liked it when the main character. And so once again, I provided some options. Now, this is something you can provide icons if your students aren't able to write out the full sentences. Or you can take everything away if they're able to draw a picture, write it out on their own. Fantastic. You don't have to support them in that way. But if you need to scaffold some support, right, differentiate for some of your learners that might need some options, I provided 2 different sentences that they could choose from: when Soulway remembered her own brightness and felt beautiful, or when Soulway saw the shooting star, right? So those were 2 parts of the story that were pretty animated and really beautiful. And so I put those 2 options out there because I think that my students might be interested in those 2 particular parts. They were really fun to watch within our read aloud over here. So I wrote those out. Again, if you notice that your students are really interested in another particular part, write that sentence out for them or tell them verbally what it is, right? You can very quickly jump into a Boardmaker, type out a sentence, provide an icon for them, and support them so that they can share what they liked. They can draw their picture, right? They can write it out if they can. They can type it out if that's easier for them. Or I'm going to show you, they can just simply go in and drag and drop it. If they need to drag and drop that, they can drop that right there. They could delete this one because they didn't like that one, right? And then here's their answer. So maybe they're not able to type, which is fine, or they're not able to write. You can still provide that written support for them through Boardmaker. So they can go in, they could delete one, drag another, and there you go, they're done. Maybe they're not able to actually draw out their part of the story. That's totally fine, not a problem at all, right? But I always like to provide some options for my students so they have some choices, especially when there's really no right or wrong. There's no reason not to give them some options to see what they're interested in, really to be able to hear their voice, right? So this is just a little thing I put together to share some engagement with your students, to really pull out their interests from stories that you talk about. You can use these graphic organizers, these pages, for any story whatsoever, whether you're working on ELA, SEL, social studies, science, anything, right? So you can go in, you can talk about the favorite part of whatever it is that they read and have some fun with it and see what it is that your students like, right? And so go in, provide those supports for them, and I definitely recommend checking out Soulway, and I also recommend going into Bookmarks by Netflix Junior and checking out all the really awesome stories they have there that are read aloud by their authors. So I hope you can use this, and I hope you have a lot of fun doing it with your students.